Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Selective Aggression. My name is Tanner Schertz, the Vice President of ManiacBall, joined by Robert Livingston, the one of the lead analysts for ManiacBall. How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty swell tonight.
Yeah. Well, I guess we would say before we talk about any real major baseball news, or other major baseball news, is to give our sympathies to Oscar Taveras' family. Obviously, it's a tragic incident for baseball, and it's a real shame when someone, especially that young, uh, is unable to, even have a chance to reach their potential. It was really shocking. It was really hard for me to watch the baseball game. I think that's Game 6. It's really hard for me to watch it. Knowing that, knowing Tavares is basically my age, and it's brutal.
Yeah, and condolences out to Tavares' girlfriend's family as well. Um, what was it, same age as Nick Adenhart, somewhere around there? I mean, it's pretty tragic for not only their families, but the Cardinals and all of baseball as well. And I believe they sent in Ventura's hat to the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, that was really great to see that. There's some stuff they kind of overdo with the Hall of Fame, like, oh, we're gonna put in this thing. It's just like that is perfect. Like that's the kind of moment that, yes, that is like the perfect thing that should be sent to the Hall.
Yeah, definitely. So about the World Series, Game 7 ended in a pretty crazy fashion. I mean, the game was almost over. We had a error by Blanco and almost got it inside the Parker to tie the game, but that didn't happen. And Madison Bumgarner did what he did the entire playoffs and just dominated.
Yeah, that was a pretty incredible performance. I was kind of skeptical uh, about how Bumgarner would do on 2 days rest, and he still went. I mean, he looked like he was on fumes at times, but he was still very legit until the end. It was, for lack of a better word, it was just impressive.
Shades of Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling in the old playoffs. Very
Yeah,
dominant, very good. Now, as far as World Series being over, there's a series of roster moves that happened over the course of a couple days. We had some guys that were taken off the 40 man, but more importantly, we had Houston Street's option being exercised, which was a no brainer. Everyone knew that was going to happen, but it is still news. And another news that's not really news is the Angels declining Burnett's option, which was for $4.5 million. And they also returned Brian Moran, one of those things, to the Mariners because he was in the Rule 5 draft.
yeah. I mean, not really much here. Kind of. I mean, if they had declined Street, that would have been a very, very great story with how much they gave up for him. But yeah, you're not going to get a closer, relief pitcher, whatever of his caliber for 1 year on that kind of that kind of friendly
Mm-hmm.
deal. So yeah,
You know
it's
what have
just kind of
been
like, all right, well, business as usual.
you know what have been crafty if DePoto ended up trading Street and signing a couple of relievers for under that 7 million. That would have been crafty, but didn't happen. Didn't expect it to really happen, but oh well. We have Street for another year, maybe even more if we decide to extend him. But we do have some options in the minors that could definitely take over that closer role if need be.
Yeah, I mean, the tough part about trading Street is that you're not going to get anywhere near the value you gave up because the Angels paid deadline prices. Like if you told me that they gave up those four guys at the deadline, I was like, oh, that makes sense. But if they gave up those four guys in the off season, it wouldn't make sense.
Hmm.
And that kind of, for most people, it just doesn't register. Like, well, why is this guy worth different certain type of Well, it's because the Angels see their goal of being a World Series contender is a lot more realistic, so they're willing to give up more. And if they traded Street now, they might get a B prospect. I mean, maybe they might get a Taylor Lindsay type that they gave up, or something like that. Maybe a guy like Jose, uh, uh, but they wouldn't get four or anything like that. So it's just better to keep Street. Probably that's what Dakota's thinking.
And then another guy that hit free agency because he got his option declined was Rafael Soriano, the Nationals. But here's a guy that strikes me as someone who the Angels could sign for a small price. He was coming off a poor season, not incredibly poor, but still poor nonetheless, just to fill that late inning role as a veteran reliever, the type of role that LaTroy Hawkins filled, and I guess Jason Gurley down the stretch of last or this year.
Yeah, if he wants to be the seventh inning guy, I'd definitely be open to that. But I feel that he is going to want to still be a closer or at least a setup man. And the beginning of his season, he was fine. The second half, he just stopped getting left-handed hitters out, which is not very good because Rugies, right-handed specialists are growing on trees in most teams' farm systems. The Angels could throw in Hario Diaz or Cam Pedrogen and pretty much get the same thing, except not spend however X million of dollars Soriano is going to want.
I mean, as far as the off-season plan, we really have no idea what we're going to do. I mean, from what Dipoto said in the past, really what we're doing is just, making minor moves and making depth moves because we have one of the best offenses in all of baseball, a pretty good pitching staff that did get hurt, but it's still a good pitching staff nonetheless. And all around, there's no real holes to the lineup or over I guess the whole field, really. We have just about every spot covered. The only spot that you could really improve on would be third base and left field, and I guess the platoon partner for C.J. Cron, who I'm sure they'll find someone like Raul Ibanez and pick someone up like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's with trades and stuff. It'd basically be like pushing one weakness to a different spot. We last podcast we talked about Kendrick for a Fister type of deal, and it's like that's really just pushing your strength at second to a strength that let's call it the number one, number two once Richards comes back spot in the rotation, and you're opening up a weakness at second because now you're auditioning that spot for Gordon Beckham, Grant Green, Alex Yarbrough, free agent, and it's just not. You don't really gain much. You're just pushing the chips around to a different spot.
hmm One of the guys that I really wanted to get, if we had the money for him, would be Adam Lind. He could be a DH. He could hit right-handers and be that pretty good platoon for C.J. Cron, but he does cost a bit of money, so I don't think we'll be seeing him on the Angels anytime soon.
Yeah, the GM of the Blue Jays, Anthropopoulos, he probably won't want to move him. I mean, it depends on the price, as usual with most deals, but they're probably looking to contend in 2015. And even though Lind isn't a special player, it's hard to give up a player who might be an average DH, and you won't get much prospect wise. You might get a relief pitcher prospect or something along those lines. You won't really get that much of value in return for an expensive platoon DH. So he might as well keep it them and just get some value and try to go for 2015. But yeah, very interesting guy if they could platoon him with Crone, because
hmm
that would be a very very solid platoon. But it would also clog the roster with three first basemen, which is never really that smart.
hmm Yeah, I mean, as far as Adam Lind goes, if you look at the platoon splits, he hit 350 this year against lefties. It wasn't 90 games, and that is batting average, but still he did damage. And the strikeout to walk ratio, 37 to 24, that's pretty nice coming out of your DH. Would love to have him over here, but like you said, too many first basemen on the roster. Seems like we would more likely get more like a Lyle Overbay like we did a couple off seasons ago, or was that during? There was a waiver claim, one of those two, and platoon him, have him off the bench as a left-handed bat. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head who would is on the free agent market that would be that left-handed platoon player. Um, I mean, what do you think, Robert?
Well, there is Adam LaRoche, but he is more of a legit everyday 1B.
hmm
But he's still platoon. He's more of a he has a huge platoon split, but people will sign him to play first base every day. So obviously that's not a that's not an option. You can't sign a trying to think of how much he'll make, like 10 million a year. You can't sign that guy to be your platoon DH. That's just not a smart move.
Yeah, I mean, as far as DH, it's exactly what it
Kendrys
sounds like.
Morales.
Maybe,
I
maybe
mean, the thing with Morales is that you're going to get him at probably his lowest value, which is kind of nice. But I believe
he's not gonna cost a draft pick. That's for
he's
sure.
not going. Yeah, he's not going to cost a draft pick, and he might reclaim some of his value. I mean, last year kind of seemed like a fluke. Like he missed a lot of time, didn't have spring training, so maybe there's something there, and he's familiar with the org, so could be. But I think if you sign him, then you can't have CJ Crone on the roster. It just doesn't make sense because Morales is 100% DH, cannot play first at all. Like Crone can actually play first, which is it doesn't make sense because you want Puls to be able to DH, and you can't. You absolutely cannot put Morales at first.
Yeah, I mean, in 2014, he hit lefties better than righties, so that's not what we're looking for. Let's see. I mean, Jason Giambi looks pretty good at sparkling age of 44.
Did he retire though? I think he's trying to become a coach. I thought he finally retired.
He can be a player coach.
I'm sure that would go over quite well. Let's see. I don't know. I just Googled him, and it says Jason Giambi is, not was, an American professional first baseman. So, based off that 5 seconds of Google, it appears he is available on the market.
That's not bad. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess someone's gonna have to look up, find a good lefty to pair with CJ Cron because I
Efren Navarro.
Efren Navarro. I mean, yeah, that could work. You can
At least he
he
has
can play
flexibility to
left.
play outfield.
Yeah, he can play left field and first base, and that's about it. But I mean, it could definitely. Who do you think is better in left field, Hamilton or Navarro?
Probably Navarro, but Hamilton is one of those guys that when you watch him some plays, you're like, oh, he's still got it. He's still at least average out there. And you watch him some plays, and you're like, why is this guy not the everyday DH? So you get kind of those extremes, whereas Navarro is probably a little more consistency. It's kind of hard to tell, but that's tough. They're both probably like fringe average, maybe a little bit below. So it's kind of just
It's a wash.
yeah, it's cutting it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the offseason goes, World Series is over. We're going to see a lot of moves where we just take guys off the 40-man, exercise those options, which you've already seen, and basically start to see a groundwork of where we're going to go with this roster. I, like I said before, I have no idea what we're going to do. We don't have that much money available, and one of the top relievers was just extended by the Red Sox.
Yeah, that was the first guy off the top ManiacBall top 50 that I think got signed. So one less, but he was. I don't know if that was quite a deal I'd give Uehara because 2 years kind of fell off in 2014. It seems like it's more of a hey, you've been good with us, we're gonna scratch your back type of deal. Although he's good, I mean, no denying it. But do you really want to make that commitment of 2 years? I think it was 2 years, 18 million to a guy who's going to be 40 for 2015. Eh, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the guys that I wanted the Angels to get when he was back on the Orioles. That didn't happen. He went to the Rangers in a trade and then got signed by the Red Sox. Man, that was a great deal by the Red Sox. We definitely should have jumped on that. Oh man, what was the exact thing for him? What was it? What was it? What was it? It was a
Uh,
small contract. I think
it
it was like
was,
2 years, 9 million.
yeah, that sounds about right. I'm trying to it right now.
I'm pretty sure it was 2 years, 9 million.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And wow, think about his age and how well he pitched with the Red Sox to go from getting that type of deal. Yeah, it's 2 years, 9.25 million to go from that, pitch 2 years, be just get done with your age 39 season, and then get 2 years, like or 18 million. He doubled his contract
Hmm.
in his upper 30s. That's pretty impressive.
Way late 30s, way late 30s. We had in our top 50, we had Koji Uehara at 16. Sean did the write up, and he said that he would likely get at least 7 million a year, and he ended up getting what 9 million a year. So that's pretty good. Actually, he got 6 million. No, 9 million. Yep, I was right. He got 9 million a year. Good job, Sean. Golf clap for you. That was a nice clap. Okay.
I did I clap?
I heard a clap.
I popped my elbow. I definitely
Oh
popped my
man.
elbow.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, this is a baseball podcast, so at least baseball related injuries.
Yeah, you kind of sound like C.J. Wilson there.
Oh, man. Do not say it. I was going to say Tyler Skaggs, but that brings
Oh,
it. That
that
brings it. That
too soon. Too
that's
soon.
that's a tear to my eye right there.
Yeah, it's too soon. But Brent have a pretty good article went up about C.J. Wilson. You should definitely go check that out. It's the first thing you Google when it comes up if you Google C.J. Wilson Maniac Ball. So that's pretty cool.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean,
If we don't, then then the search engine optimization is definitely not at maximum capacity for us.
no, we need a guy for that. As I mean, I think over the course of the off season, you're gonna see some more articles from us. Most likely, looking back at our original posts in the beginning of the season, so the last off season, and doing our predictions. I know I wrote about guys we could look at for the bench that we could sign, and particularly I looked at hitters who hit specific breaking balls or changeups. Um, I'm not too sure if this was thing as a kind of thing that was documented, but I'm not even sure when the A's were documented about having hitters that hit fly ball pitchers or they hit ground ball pitchers and they had a ups what is it upswing whatever in their swing
Uppercut,
uppercut
an
there we go
uppercut,
an uppercut in their swing
an upswing in their swing.
an upswing in their swing.
That would be
um
a double dip.
yeah, anyway, so I was close to what the A's did. I mean they hit ground ball pitchers. I had guys who could hit curveballs, and they actually did end up signing two guys from that list. Let me go pull it up. Robert, go ahead and just talk about something.
Just something. Okay.
Something.
It's
Something that you're
just
planning on writing about.
okay. Well, I've been pretty busy, so I haven't putting that off. But I think one of the things we talked about was extensions in our young guys, and one of the things that's constantly talked about is, we need to extend that guy, we need to extend this guy, blah blah blah. And outside of the fact that the Angels don't have too much room before they hit the luxury tax, I personally don't think a single guy in the Angels who is either pre-arb or arbitration should get signed to an extension right now, unless it's absolutely ridiculous in terms of team. Now you might say, what about Cole Calhoun? What about Garrett Richards? What about even the injured Tyler Skaggs? Well, most people don't know that Cole Calhoun is already 27. He was a late bloomer, and so he's pretty much already into his peak years. And we're getting it on dirt cheap. He's gonna be pre-arb 2. Basically, that means next year he'll be this year, or sorry, yeah, 2015, 2016, he'll be playing for barely above league minimum, and then the 3 years following that, he'll get arbitration. So he has 5 more years of control. So signing an extension doesn't really make much sense for him because you might only buy out 1 free agent year, 2 if you include an option, and it'd be something along the lines of like 6 years, 30 million. Not really, you don't gain anything. And then you have Garrett Richards, who just had an awful knee injury. And there's really you don't want to try to extend guys on that because you're basically making a bet where the risk is way too much against you at that time. Maybe as he comes back and the Angels like the progress, then you might consider it. Because obviously you want an ace locked up long term, but there's also concerns about his delivery and how much it'll hurt him long term. Can he keep up the velocity spike that he picked up this year? Stuff like that. Then your arbitration guys, David Freese, you don't want to extend him. Jepson, no. Salas, no. Conger is a guy who's going to be super cheap in arbitration, and he's definitely a year-to-year guy because what he does is just not well valued, like not overly valued on the market or anything like that. Cowgill, not a key guy. Pistano, Santiago, guys like that, you just do not want to extend. And then on the pre-arb side, I mean, you might have Tyler Skaggs who just had TJ, unless he went up to Poto and was like, "Hey, I'll sign a 10-year, $7 million deal," which is stupidly low. It's 200,000 a year above the league minimum. If he came up and said, "Oh, I'll sign that," it's like, okay, well, you'd consider that, but there's just no upside. It's all risk because he might, it's sad to say, but he could end up not throwing another pitch again base in for the Angels. Obviously, I don't want that to happen. I'd love for him to make a smooth recovery and reach his potential, but then you have Kendrick, who makes sense for an extension, but not right now. While they're still trying to play with their luxury tax budget, and he might make sense at next off season, like right before he leaves for free agency. That might make sense. Ineta just had his pretty much his best season, especially in terms of OBP. You don't really want to pay for that because you're going to be paying far too much, and he's on the wrong side of the platoon. Not the kind of guy you extend. So I mean, there's no one really on the team right now who I'd say, yes, you got to extend. And it's kind of really, for me, it's interesting because everyone says, oh, you have to lock up all these players. It's, well, let's wait a year. Let's wait 2 because you have time, especially for more of the core guys. That's what the Angels are lucky. It's basically they have either very young core or kind of older guys that they can kind of just let play out. They don't have the guy who's about to reach free agency who they absolutely have to extend. So that's not a huge concern for them this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, what you were saying before, one of the things you want to look at is signing your pitchers long term. 2 of our pitchers got hurt. You're looking at Skaggs, you're looking at Richards. You think of the prototypical pre-arb player who gets extended, that pitcher, the Ricky Romero, the John Lester, I believe the Madison Bumgarner, the 5 years, $30 million deal around that, basically around that money. Definitely Matt Moore. I think Matt Moore is cheaper than that.
Oh, he's ridiculous because he
He's
had that
512, right?
Yeah, his was and with like 3 options for like nothing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of deals that you would think about. I mean, those guys are, especially Skaggs, pretty young. Definitely want to sign those guys to long-term deals. They just got hurt, so you might want to wait a little bit longer before you actually go ahead and do that. Matt Moore was actually 5 years, $14 million with 3 team options, so you had that.
Wow, that's that deal. If he didn't get hurt, that's arguably one of the best deals in all of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
He signed because he came up later in the year, pitched the postseason, and signed that extension like immediately. That was Sorry, I was reflecting on how I remember how crazy like hearing that deal. I was like, he did what? He signed what?
Yeah, pretty crazy. I looked up who the guys we signed. It was Yorvit Torrealba, who actually didn't play for the Angels at all this year. He signed a minor league deal in January. And then the other guy was Brennan Bosch, who was not actually in the article. He was one of the guys that was thinking about, but just missed the cut. But he did get signed. So those 2 guys definitely could have added something to the bench, and they did, somewhat. I guess Brennan Bosch helped out the AAA team, got on the All-Star team, so pretty cool for him.
Hit the longest home run in Angel Stadium this year.
Yeah. And then the other guys that I said they should sign would be Jeff Baker, Elliott Johnson, and Derek Robertson or Andres Torres. None of them signed, but oh well. So that's one of the things we could go back and look at.
That was like the ultimate quad A player list right there.
Oh yeah, that's what your bench is. If you can't, if you don't draft and develop guys like the Cardinals, where you can just put, a Matt Carpenter out there who, I mean, he's not a guy on the bench anymore, but he was a guy that came off the bench, played second, short, and third, and first base, and he comes out and becomes a stud, or a guy like Matt Adams or Daniel Descalso or Pete Cosma, those guys who just develop and then just become really good bench players. I mean, some of the guys that you could think of are our top prospects, which is pretty sad.
Yeah,
Like Eric Stamets and Alex Yarbrough, those are the guys that look like Stamets is your Cosma, and Yarbrough is like your Descalso. Just guys that not that great, but they have value as a bench bat.
every team needs him,
Hmm.
but every team doesn't go crazy for him. Fans go crazy when they have 2 hot weeks,
Hmm.
or when you're Pete Cosman, you basically ruin the Nationals' playoff hopes that one year, and everyone goes crazy over him.
Speaking of guys that are bench bats that go crazy over, Luis Jimenez Lucho got claimed by the Brewers. I actually didn't know he got on waivers, but he was claimed by the Brewers, and I'm sure he will play, off the bench, play some third, play some first. They don't have anyone at first, and I believe Aramis is a free agent this year, right? I
He
believe so.
has a
Team
mutual option,
mutual option. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna
and
get that.
yeah, it's a mutual option, and they could extend the QO. And I don't know. He's kind of tricky. They probably want to keep him for the mutual option, but I wouldn't be surprised if they sign an extension. But if he leaves, I mean, he could easily replace, not easily, but he could replace Ramirez.
Mm. So good for Lucho. Hopefully he can play on that team a lot. I mean, what
Oh,
else?
that was a guy.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That was in that tweet I sent out. I remember guys off the 40-man roster. I think I forgot him. Yeah, I remember John Buck. I didn't remember Luis Jimenez.
Let's see. Now, as far as the rest of our posts, like I said, we'll probably be going back and looking at our prediction posts. I know I don't believe have we posted the one where you talked about our predictions for the year. I think we already did.
Um,
How
I
the
can't
like the
remember.
division leaders, because I had the Padres placing second in the NL West. I
Oh,
did make the
that was
mark. I did make the mark that if they stayed healthy and they hit, they would be second place because they have great pitching. And what happened was they
they
didn't
did
stay
neither.
healthy and they didn't hit. In fact, they were approaching, or at least they hit, the fact of the worst hitting team in baseball history.
They're that until like June or July. I'm pretty sure too. They hit well. I think the last 2 months. It's just for a while it was not very good.
Yeah, that was good prediction by me.
Turner. I'm going through the standings right now, seeing how well I did. I think I actually got the NL East perfectly. If I did the Mets finish second or third? Nope, they finished second. It was a tie. Ah man, because I had who was it? I had Nationals, Braves, Mets, Marlins, Phillies. I'll take that.
It's not bad.
Yeah, let's see what the other ones.
You know who's a guy that I think we could trade for? Maybe. Just maybe. John Neese of the Mets.
He's definitely interesting because he has not too bad of a deal. He's your number four type.
Mm.
Trying to think, he has a pretty good deal. From what I remember, it's
525.
yeah, he has next year in 2016 plus two options. That's 7 million next year, 9 million the year after. That's hard for the Mets to move though.
We could take that.
I'm not sure who. I mean, CJ Crone.
Now, actually, he would be a good platoon for Lucas Duda.
I think they might try to play Duda every day, though.
I always had Lucas Duda as a guy that would have a breakout year, and I kept saying that like every single year, like this guy's gonna break out, this guy's gonna break out,
Until this
and
year.
then well, I kind of just forgot about him, like oh whatever, and
Yeah.
he ended up breaking out.
Yeah, Nice would be nice, but like I said, that contract is very team friendly. Hard for the Mets, especially in their situation, to move him.
Yeah, CJ Cron would be a pretty good platoon for him. Wow. Yeah, I mean he had 125 plate appearances against lefties, and he hit 180.
Yeah, but at the same time, even though that's very true that he needs it, I don't think they want for Nice a short side of the platoon in return. They
Mm.
probably want, they'll probably ask for like Hunter Green, just throw it in him, or they'll ask for Ricardo Sanchez or Alex Yarbrough, kind of something that might fit their long term plan more.
You know, I think a combination of taking on the salary as well as giving them a pen arm or two, a good pen arm or two, and an outfield prospect, which we have none of. We literally have no outfield prospects. You know that, right?
Uh,
Our last outfield prospect was Zach Borenstein.
doesn't doesn't isn't Matt Long? Is he
No,
still?
no,
Is he a
no,
thing?
no, no.
Isn't what about Mike Fish?
Too young. We can
Uh,
trade them. We can trade them. No wait, they have them. Never mind. The guy that we traded Cowgill for, right?
now
Kyle Hudson.
we'll just trade him again.
Yeah.
He just gets moved up a level or something.
Matt Long. Looking at his stats, 2014, he got demoted down to Arkansas. Put up some solid on base skills, but not much else.
Didn't he get demoted because of Bosch?
Probably. Well, I mean, the beginning of the year is doing pretty bad.
Yes, that might be it. But I mean, that's not the kind of prospect they want.
No, no, that's a
That's a quad A.
maybe we don't match up well with the Mets. I mean, if we had a guy like RJ Alvarez or a guy like him who we could just trade, I mean, it's not going to trade just a bullpen arm and salary relief to take John Neese. I mean, this guy's a good pitcher. 3.40 ERA, and the other peripherals look pretty decent. Doesn't really give up too many walks. Doesn't strike out a ton, but he's still a solid pitcher. And he's lefty. So I mean, that's the guy that I would totally want to get, but it just might not be a fit.
I
Just
mean,
kind of things.
that's the problem. I think most teams aren't a fit because we don't have prospects.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, we don't have anything. We really don't.
I mean, we have pitching in the low minors, which everyone has.
Yeah, I'm. That's why I don't like trade talks anymore. Because it's not like we can say we can trade Lindsey Rondon. We can probably get a pretty solid pitcher for him. Now it's like we could trade a reliever for a bench bat maybe, and that's it
Yeah,
because we don't have any other prospects. But with these, I wonder what's going to happen this year for the draft because we're going to have a late draft pick. Last year, well, this year, they were some pretty good names that came out late in the draft. You had a third baseman from Stanford that went to, I believe, the Cardinals. Alex Blandino, maybe that was the Red
that sounds
Sox,
right.
something like that. You had Matt Chapman, who went to the A's, and then you had a couple guys that dropped down, some very, very, very high upside guys. like Jacob Gatewood, who fell through. Another guy, Joe Gatto, fell through to the second round. I mean, those guys are going to be available in the first round, which is pretty nice. I wonder what they'll do. I'm sure they'll pick the best player available, but I wouldn't mind seeing an outfield bat.
Right. I mean, who was it? Who won the World Series? The Red Sox. They had the 26th pick. So I mean, the Angels will move up just simply due to uh, the qualifying offer compensation picks.
Right. Yeah.
So they won't. And I mean, they got Michael Chavis, who is drawing some pretty nice reviews from scouts.
Blandino went to the Reds. Yeah, I do like Chavis a lot. I mean, Luke Weaver went to the Cardinals.
Interesting,
Luke Weaver.
interesting arm.
Luis Ortiz went to the Rangers.
That
Uh,
was a very good pick by them.
yeah, Michael Kopech, a guy that the Angels were definitely looking at. Um, I
Jack
believe they thought he was going to fall down to the second round, but he ended up going in the first round. Braxton Davidson, good pick.
Jack Flaherty was interesting two-way player. Derek Fisher went in the comp round, and he was considered a top 10 player for a while.
Forrest Wall, Mike Pappy, another Angels connection there. Jacob Gatewood, like I said, high upside guys. AJ Reed, solid college player. Nick
So yeah, I mean,
Birdie, Ryan Castellani, Sean Reed Foley, a arm that we really like, Monte Harrison, and then there's Joe Gatto. So I mean, there's a ton of options there that we'll have. It'll be a late first round draft pick. I think we can probably get some guys. We're starting to look out for some guys in college. We're starting to do the scouting for them, starting to make our list. Last year we had scouting reports for the draft. I don't know how the exact number. I think we had around 20, 25 reports. Definitely on the top first round guys that we liked going in the draft, and just essentially the guys that were going to go in the first round. This year we're planning on going way more than that, way more, probably 50, 75 guys, maybe going into the third round of guys if we can. I'll be looking at a ton of college players being at ASU. Some of the guys, Ryan Burr is a guy that's definitely going to be drafted this year, college closer, throws hard. You have guys that will play in other other teams. One of the shortstops from U of A, which I believe his name is Kevin Newman. Yeah, Kevin Newman, really good hitter. And then you have guys all around the Pac 12, really Pac 11, that I will be able to watch. So definitely some good guys, and we have all our guys from California being able to watch the Fullerton guys, the guys from maybe even San Diego State, San Diego, around there.
yeah, I think you know what they should do. I think the new market inefficiency is players from ASU. I don't know why, but when you said that, I thought, don't a lot of guys come from there? I just looked it up. I mean, just recently you had Calhoun, Kipnis, Romine, Sogard, Brett Wallace, Mike Davis, Leak. Uh, Got to go back a little bit for Pedroia, Ethier, stuff like that. I was like, man, I think if you just pick an ASU guy, you get seems like you get a big leaguer. Obviously, there's like Bonds and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, last year there was only 3 guys that got drafted out of ASU. It was Drew Stankiewicz, who went in the 11th round to the Phillies. We had Nate Kazi, who was a catcher slash first baseman, who went to the Rockies, and he was in the, where was he at? Some round. Where was he at? Maybe 12? No, it was 19. Way later. No, way later. And then David Graybill went to the Yankees, who went in the 33rd round. He was a right-handed pitcher. So we'll definitely see a lot more guys being drafted out of ASU for sure this year. I think we'll get maybe 1 or 2 that'll come out before the 10th round, definitely. So that's going to be something to look at.
Yeah, I mean that's that's a
Hey, sorry about that break there. We had an issue in recording, but like I said, that we should see some guys coming out of ASU before the 10th round, one or two, maybe even more. Other than that, I mean, that pretty much wraps it up for the first episode, or the second episode, should I say, of Selective Aggression. Robert, do you have any final words at all?
Nope. Continue listening. Read our articles. Buy stuff. We don't have anything to sell, but just buy it. Give us money.
We do have a donation uh, bar in the top of our website, so if you want to donate, you can. If you don't want to donate,
Oh, I said a lot.
you
Yeah,
can
it'll be a lot nicer. You can donate.
you can donate to us. You could also not donate to us.
Exactly.
Um, that's why you live in America, because you have the freedom
Yeah.
of choice. So do whatever you like. So that should be it. Like I said, my name's Tanner, and that's Robert, who doesn't know cues. He's still gonna learn. See you guys later.
What you? I was gonna say you cued. You didn't.
I cued
You
you.
no. You said my name at the beginning, but you didn't say at the end. Come on, consistency.
Well, I'm being selective.
Are you being selectively aggressive?
That's it. Okay, we're done.